Good Friday, July 5th morning to everyone. Well, it's come that time of year when that decision that is never clear cut and you kind of always got to walk through in your mind and make on corn is whether or not to apply fungicide. So I'm going to walk you through this morning some of my decision making process when one of you asked me about whether I would or would not, whether looking at the corn or just in general conversation. I'm going to walk through kind of my process, and this will be my thoughts for 2024 as we sit on July 5th. So the first question to answer is yes or no. Do I apply or not? There's a couple things I want to look at when I'm trying to make that decision. The first one is the environment. So what's the environment look like in 2024 as we set right now? Well, I've got a couple things tipping my favor to apply or tipping my decision toward apply right now. So we've got that early initial find of tar spot that popped up 3 weeks ago, and that definitely gets my trigger going. We had early finds in 18 and 21. Both of those years were the heavier years and more impactful on the disease cycle. And then you just look at the general weather day to day or week to week. We're in this period of wet dry. So we've had some rainy periods, then it dries off. It's rainy and then dries off. Similar to kind of like we do in irrigation scenarios where that really favors tar spot development. So new research has shown that maybe it's not constant moisture so much that really dries it, but it's these periods when it's really wet, then it dries off. So we definitely are in that pattern right now in 2024. So another thing that's going to tip my decision toward doing it. So, and then just looking at the three diseases that we fight and prioritizing which one's going to do the most damage. So for me, across my whole geography now, tar spot is definitely the one that's going to do the most damage when you look at our three diseases. So it behaves differently. It comes in late. It takes a long time to develop. But when it develops, like in my pictures there, when it really starts to take off, about a month after that initial find, you'll see quite a few spots, and then another 3 or 4 weeks, the plant's totally blighted out. So that's what makes this hard to decide for tar spot in general, because you really just can't go out and scout and decide because you're not going to find it. You may find a few lesions, but you're going to have to look pretty long and hard. And then if you decide on a no, 3 or 4 weeks from now, that thing can really take off and start going. Almost no northern or gray leaf spot can be found in the canopy right now. So, like the last 5 or 6 years, you go out and look for disease, and it just isn't there. These diseases are coming in late, and the one that really does it is the one that we probably need to make our application decisions based off of. So, with that in mind, when to apply, there's the next question to look at. So, because it behaves differently for tar spot, I'm going to apply later. So, from the day my corn starts to tassel to the end, it's about 50 days. And I'm going to get about 3 weeks out of a fungicide application, no matter which fungicide it is. So, I want to protect the most important 3 weeks of the plant's life cycle. So, if to me, I want when the kernels blister off, I know that's when I'm going to be most likely to abort kernels, and then as we go deeper into the life cycle, that's how I'm going to shallow kernels up. So that 3 week period from blister to dent is the period I want to protect. So I'm not necessarily wanting to make an application right now just because I see tassels out, and maybe not even brown silk. I kind of like the blister stage myself. Now I know logistically that's not possible for everybody to have their stuff applied during the blister stage, but because tar spot behaves differently, I like to move my application later. So I see corn tasseling now. I'm looking at roughly 2 weeks before I would want to make an application. So the oldest corn right now is starting to tassel. So many of us have a couple weeks still to pull the trigger on this decision. But looking at our conditions and when I want to apply, that blister stage is probably my sweet spot for tar spot. So which product? This question gets asked of me a lot, and one thing that's nice is I can rely on my experience, which would tell me that for tar spot in general, when I look at multi mode of action products, I just don't see a difference. Every one of them I see in the field tends to give you about 2.5, 3 weeks of really good protection, and then you see the disease start to come in. So I don't really see in the field differences among products. And for those of you that like data, fortunately, we can look at Purdue's fungicide research, especially at Penny. They've done a great job with tar spot and fungicide work up there. And you can see when you look at their trials, both yield and spot wise, that when you look at all the products, they really shake out statistically to be the same. So I don't really get axle wrapped around which product to use. You can really decide on personal preference or on price, and you're probably going to make a sound decision either way. So looking at the economic side, um, fungicide and application. Just looking at the bid right now for fall price at Logan Sport, it's 419. So I need roughly a hair over 7 bushel just to break even from just the fungicide and the either the plane or drone application, considering each of them is going to run about 15 on the average. So 7 bushel gain there. Really question your additives. Everything that gets thrown in the tank outside of fungicide and water, you should really be asking whoever's selling it to you or whether you're adding it, is this bringing money to the tank and paying for itself? So I look at insecticide. I have a real hard time justifying putting insecticide in these applications because we don't have many insects in the corn. You may find some Japanese beetles, but them are seldom above threshold. And it's really arguable whether you ever make your money back spraying Japanese beetles. And then other things that might be thrown in the tank, same scenarios. So it's easy to say it costs just a little bit, so throw it in for safety. But you do that several times, $2 or $3 an acre at a time, it starts to add up pretty quick. So really question your additives, what's going into the tank. The other thing that on the economic side that's always been a struggle for me to quantify is the standability and harvestability gain. This picture at the bottom was from 2018. It was over in White County, the first year we had tar spot really bad. And just a reminder that although I can't put a number on it because I don't know how much we lose from either harvesting down corn or the time that it takes to add to my harvest from the down corn, there's a value there, but I just don't know what to put on it. So that value could be close to what we see on the historic gain side. So there's something there. I think that needs to weigh in your decision. Long term over the years, with one application of fungicide put on at that blister stage, I would say our historic number across the area runs about 15 bushel gain. So we have a gain to definitely cover what we see for break even. So to me, the question whether to spray or not spray this year seems pretty clear cut, especially with the weather this year and those early finds. But I know a lot of you still like to walk through the decision process, and it may not be as clear cut to you as it is in my mind. So if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to one of our sales reps or reach out to me directly. Thank you and have a good day.